Touchscreens were originally built for war. Every time you unlock your phone, you're using a technology that was perfected in the command centers of the Cold War. The gesture feels effortless now, natural, almost biological, but the touch-sensitive interface beneath your fingertip wasn't designed for convenience. It was designed for combat. Today, touchscreens are everywhere. They've become so ordinary that we barely notice them. Your smartphone, the ATM outside your bank, the self-checkout kiosk at the grocery store, the dashboard in your car, airport check-in terminals, digital menus at restaurants. We've been conditioned to see them as symbols of progress, efficiency, even simplicity. They feel modern, harmless, personal. But that familiarity masks something most people never consider. These screens weren't created for you. They weren't built to make your life easier. They were built to help operators track enemy aircraft, coordinate missile defenses, and make split-second decisions in environments where hesitation meant death. In the middle of the 20th century, the military faced a problem that traditional technology couldn't solve. Radar operators in air defense command rooms were staring at screens filled with blips representing incoming threats, enemy bombers, unidentified aircraft, potential nuclear strikes. The information was there, displayed on cathode ray tubes, but interacting with it was agonizingly slow. Operators had to use switches, dials, knobs, and physical buttons to select targets, relay coordinates, and issue commands. Every extra second mattered. Every mechanical step introduced delay. In high-stress combat environments where enemy aircraft could cross hundreds of miles in minutes, that delay could be catastrophic. Traditional control panels were also fragile. Mechanical switches wore out, buttons jammed, dials became imprecise under constant use, and in the chaos of a potential nuclear exchange, there was no time for an operator to fumble through a bank of physical controls. The military needed something faster, something more direct, a way to eliminate the interface itself, to let the operator's intention translate immediately into action. They needed touch. The first touch-sensitive systems began appearing in classified military installations during the 1950s and 60s. These weren't the sleek glass panels we know today. They were bulky, experimental, and expensive, but they solved a critical problem. In radar control rooms, operators could now touch a point on the screen to select a target. In air defense command centers, they could drag a finger across a display to track an incoming threat. In missile guidance systems, they could tap coordinates directly onto a map. The technology eliminated steps. It reduced cognitive load. It allowed trained personnel to operate faster, with greater accuracy, under extreme pressure. This wasn't about making life easier. It was about survival. These systems were never intended for the public. They were classified, restricted, built into environments that civilians would never see. The technology was prohibitively expensive, often costing tens of thousands of dollars per installation. It required specialized training to use effectively, and it was engineered for durability in conditions that consumer products would never face. 24-hour operations, vibration, electromagnetic interference, temperature extremes. The idea that an average person might one day carry a touch-sensitive screen in their pocket would have seemed absurd. These were military tools, designed for military purposes, operated by military personnel. Civilians were never part of the equation, but technology has a way of drifting. Slowly, quietly, touch-sensitive systems began appearing outside the defense sector. University research labs experimented with touch interfaces for computer terminals. Industrial facilities used them for process control and monitoring. Early versions appeared in air traffic control centers, where the same principles that guided missile defense could be applied to managing civilian airspace. By the early 1970s, a few experimental public systems emerged, touchscreen information kiosks at airports, museums, and exhibitions. But these were novelties, demonstrations of what might be possible. The technology was still too expensive, too fragile, and too impractical for widespread use. For decades, touchscreens remained a solution waiting for a problem. The core concept was sound. The military had proven that, but the rest of the world hadn't caught up. Computing power was limited. Display technology was crude. Manufacturing costs were astronomical. Reliability was inconsistent. The infrastructure needed to support touch interfaces on a mass scale simply didn't exist. So the technology waited. It lingered in labs, in industrial settings, in specialized applications. The idea was ready. Society was not. What changed wasn't the fundamental concept of touch. What changed was everything around it. Advances in semiconductor technology made processors faster and cheaper. Improvements in material science produced more durable, responsive screens. Manufacturing techniques evolved to allow mass production. The rise of personal computing created demand for more intuitive interfaces. And gradually, almost imperceptibly, the gap between military-grade systems and consumer-ready devices began to close. By the time touchscreens entered the consumer market in the late 20th century, the core technology was already decades old. It had been tested, refined, and perfected in environments far removed from everyday life. The contrast is striking when you think about it. Those early systems were housed in windowless command rooms, lit by the glow of radar displays, operated by personnel trained to respond to threats that could arrive in minutes. Today, the same fundamental technology sits in your hand. You use it to send messages, watch videos, order groceries, navigate streets. The environment has changed completely. The stakes have disappeared, but the principle remains identical, eliminating the barrier between intention and action. What was once a tool for tracking enemy aircraft is now a tool for tracking your daily life. The technology hasn't changed as much as its purpose has. It's worth considering how many of the technologies we now view as personal and intuitive began in places defined by pressure, danger, and conflict. The touch interface you use every day wasn't designed to connect you with friends or entertain you. It was designed to help operators make life and death decisions faster than the enemy could respond. That origin doesn't make the technology dangerous. It doesn't make it sinister. But it does reveal something about the nature of innovation itself. Many of our most familiar tools were forged in environments where failure had consequences most of us will never face. Some of the most personal technologies in our lives began in places where there was nothing personal at all. They were born in war rooms, command centers, and classified installations. They were tested under conditions of stress and urgency. And decades later, they became so ordinary that we stopped thinking about where they came from. The next time you touch a screen, remember, that simple gesture has a history, and it's far stranger than you might think.